my name is Emily Iannelli, and I just want to say, in light of the recent events, I am very saddened regarding this seeming rising tide in hate crimes. We need to establish uh, a approach that will bring our country together and to bring together these parties who are seemingly at odds with each other, which is divisive to the country. I have my own political views, but I am not getting into this political discussion. What I am asking is that we have common sense approach to this recent tragic pattern of hate crimes. And now we're witnessing it amongst the Jewish community. And it's been happening for quite some time. And it's very, very dangerous to look the other way while we see what's happening in our front of our very own eyes. This is supposed to be a holy time, a spiritual time, a time for faith and devotion and loyalty to God. And yet, we see hate, we see crime, we see terrorism. And it is not a stretch to point to the source of this anger and hostility, which goes right to Washington, where the heart of this division is sowed. I have many Jewish friends, and I am with you in addressing these horrors. No one wishes to see this at any time of year, but during the holidays makes it even more disturbing. I also feel that I represent a community myself that has been under attack and has been subjected to violence and crime and hate. And there's a day that we celebrate, which is not really a day of celebration, it's a day of remembrance. For me, it symbolizes the people within the transgender community who've been murdered, who've sadly taken their lives, who've been hurting because of the lack of support, because of discrimination, because of hate crimes directed at them. So I know full well what it's like to feel discriminated against, to be the subject of hate. And I don't like it. And I don't appreciate it. And it should not be directed towards anyone based on your religion, your sexuality, your gender, your minority status, your gender identity. your color, race. It should not be determined on anything. We need to establish boundaries. We need to establish a more compassionate society. We need to establish rules where we can go about our lives and not feel threatened. However, this is not the case. My friends in the Jewish community, based on the reports I've seen in the news, are now living with fear, anxiety, and sadness in their heart because of this anger, hostility, these crimes against them, aimed specifically at them, and it is not to be tolerated. We have a president who seems more preoccupied with his own personal issues. He does not seem to take the interest of our country at heart. And I just watched a report on CNN where members of the Jewish community, officials, representatives of the Anti-Defamation League, members that are advocates for providing awareness and not to propose hate against specific groups, including the Jewish heritage. We cannot have discrimination against anyone, no matter what. Anti-Semitism is a issue that affects many of my friends, and I too am very sensitive to it. And I stand with my fellow friends, and I support them, and I want our leadership to make it known that this is not acceptable. Mr. President, you need to speak, not through a tweet. You need to speak to the United States citizenry on nationalized television and state this is not tolerated. We will not tolerate this at all. We need to establish a sense of togetherness and a sense of fighting what is unjust, and we cannot look the other way. And you, Mr. President, need to take action and stop with your nonsense tweets about bringing down other people. Stop with your own bullying tactics and take a stand to support what we need to stand for. And that is to eliminate this hate, this anger, because it is stemming from the poison and the venomous hatred that you spew in your rallies and your speeches and your tweets. And you better toe the mark, and you better start to think about what is most important, and that is unifying this country and eliminating this hatred. We must combat it, we must fight it, and we must prevent it to the best of our ability, and stop inciting this hatred as you clearly are doing, Mr. President.